1, 2, 3, 4 years completed, but time just will not stop. In terms of quests released per year, this one sits at the top. 23 full years of questing, Caves of Bank must stay alive. RuneScape 3 Hardcore Ultimate Ironman, questing through 2005. Welcome back to April 26th, 2005. Doing more crafting. It's very AFK, very workable here. Make some unstrung symbols. Just mining some silver up in the chasm mine, running back down here, smelting, crafting, selling to the general store. Generally working pretty well. Making some money, getting some levels, which are going to be very important in the future. And there is 59 crafting. That is Spinal Leather Body in Daemonheim. We can tell that that's not a thing because Daemonheim's not a thing. Yet. We're working towards specific level goals to get them before we need them for the most part. I'm sure there's going to be times when we get to a level requirement where we haven't actually planned for it completely. But with how levels for quests slowly increase over the years, it's mostly not a problem. Anyways, 27,000 coins from that crafting level, bringing us up to 5,113,000. So that's pretty good. Just standing behind these washing lines here. All right. Anyways, not much else doing here. Unlike when we were training Slayer, we are actually just going to keep moving on here. No long, drawn-out starter doing all the training. What we're doing now is updates. On May 4th, 2005, got another behind the scenes. Last month was Desert Month. This month is Underground Month. We got a minigame and more in the Swamp Caves, Burial Mounds in Southeast Mauritania, Underground Dwarven City, some stuff with ogre bows and bones, all sorts of stuff. Underground. And the first underground update. An earthquake has rocked Lumbridge, and a new tunnel has opened up in the Swamp Caves, leading to the next quest. It is Tears of Guthix. Requirements: 44 quest points, 20 crafting, 49 firemaking, and 20 mining. Although there's going to be a few other requirements for Ironman accounts in order to make the things we need here. And very, very specific requirements, since there's not any other ways to get things. Later on there will be more ways to get an oil-filled bullseye lantern. But as it stands right now, our only choice is go and make one. Which shouldn't be too hard. Although, I guess there is a chance they could drop from something. Probably just be easier to just go and make it ourselves, though. Also need a cut sapphire and another strong light source. This one's slightly changed, it seems, from how it originally was. But have 2 strong light sources. I guess we just make 2 bullseye lanterns. That'll be fine. We're also going to need a chisel, a tinderbox, a pickaxe, and a rope if we hadn't already went down into the Lumbridge Swamp Caves. A spiny helmet would be helpful for avoiding the wall beasts, but we don't need to worry about that. Wall beasts have a fairly uncommon drop of an unfinished bullseye lantern, But we can just do the whole process here. Because why not? Why not? So, to make a bullseye lantern, we need a steel frame, a lens, and the oil. Steel frame will be very easy. We've done plenty of steel in our days. Mine it in Falador, smelt it, smith it somewhere. The lantern lens is just crafting from glass. Go grab some seaweed, bucket of sand, bring to a furnace. Probably the same furnace we bring the steel to. That'll work. And then the lamp oil is something a little bit more complicated. Although really it's only bringing one thing to another place. Just a different thing to a different place. But of course, before we worry about any of that, we need to go get some runes again. So we get to run to Varrock. Oh boy. The amount of teleporting around we do. My goodness. Anyways, making some steel bars. Did not check to see if it was 1 or 2 bars per thing. I guess we'll find out. Anyways. Molten glass also here. Going to need to go get a glass blowing pipe. We can grab that somewhere. Guess we could also have just done that in the same place over on the run over this way. There is an anvil over there, so that would have been fine. If we need to go get 2 more steel bars, it's not a big deal. Mine of the forge again. Steel bars. Bullseye lantern. There we go. Just 1 bar. That's good. And open the interface again to make another bullseye lantern. There you go. Shouldn't be too long to smith these. Should be only 1 action, but mining and smithing rework. Still doing what it's doing here. It does make things a little bit slower on the smithing side of things. Well, that's okay. Here's a bullseye lantern. Not even close to ready because of, everything, obviously. It's just a frame. We got 1 out of 3 pieces. Might be better places to get glass blowing pipes eventually here. Honestly, the same place as we would be getting buckets of sand. It doesn't exist yet, so work with what we got here. Gonna go pick one up over at Heavenster. Also got this sapphire from a gem rock. Not the correct gem rock, but the gem rock's also completely changed. Mining, smithing, rework, yada yada. So, is what it is here. Sapphire for later. Be interesting to see if we actually need the second bullseye lantern here. It does specifically say in the quest 2 light sources, so I don't know. Whether or not the darkness levels in certain locations have changed, it's a possibility. The last blowing pipe. It really is a benefit to know where all these different things are when trying to do some nonsense like this. Lantern lens in the bullseye lantern. And now, it just needs lamp oil. And lamp oil can be made by bringing swamp tar down to the Remington chemist here. We can let him explain it a bit more. Ask about lamp oil. Hi, I need fuel for a lamp. Hello there. The fuel you need is lamp oil. Do you need help making it? Yes, please. It's really quite simple. You use the small still in here. It's all set up, so there's no fiddling around with dials. Just put ordinary swamp tar in, then use a lantern or lamp to get the oil out. Thanks. We are distilling the swamp tar here. Not in the fractionalization still over here. That is much worse. Lamp oil still. Much easier. Refine some swamp tar into lamp oil. Use the lamp. and get the oil in it. And the second one, because apparently we need that. There you go. 2 bullseye lanterns. And that was an achievement here. Task and all that. So, we'll see if we can get away with just 1 lit lantern here. But we need lit lantern to run back into the lumbered swamp caves. Unfortunately, the faster way to get into the lumbered swamp caves does not exist yet. So we still need to go all the way around. All the way around. Later on there will be more options for getting in there. For right now we need to run back behind the castle here. Run along the fence that doesn't exist. And back down into the lumbered swamp caves. This time, actually protected from all the gas and nonsense in there. No chance of explosions, as our lights are nice and shielded. Also, since we have a much brighter light, it's going to be much brighter. So that's also a win. I'm just going to pop down in here. No candle cellar in sight. Climb down the dark hole. Placed our rope here already. We are good to go. Into the darkness. Which is a bit less dark. Because of, again, the stronger light. You can still try to avoid the wall beasts here. Whoop. There we go. With the fancy reworked graphics here, it's a little bit more difficult to see where the wall beasts are. We can just scoot past. Don't have any food right now, since we're not going to be fighting anything. Assuming we don't mess up with the wall beasts, obviously. See, kind of like an extension here, maybe? This place would explode if we weren't prepared. So, that's good. Wall beast in here. Run past. Jump across to the south here. Fail entirely. But again, the light source is protected, so we don't need to worry about it. And here is the new tunnel that opened up. Oh boy. Right next to the giant frogs. Tears of Guthix Cavern. Here we've got some light creatures. Originally a bit of an agility obstacle here, which has been smoothed out slightly. And a big snake called Juna. Tell me a story. A story. I have been waiting here 3,000 years, guarding the Tears of Guthix. I serve my master faithfully, but I am bored. An adventurer such as yourself must have many tales to tell. If you can entertain me, I will let you into the cave for a time. The more I enjoy your story, the more time I will give you in the cave. Then you can drink of the power of balance, which will make you stronger in whatever area you are weakest. What are the Tears of Guthix? The third age of the world was a time of great conflict, of destruction never seen before or since, when all the gods save Guthix warred for control. The colossal worms, of whom today's dragons are a pale reflection, turned all the sky to fire, while on the ground, armies of foot soldiers, goblins and trolls and humans, filled the valleys and plains with blood. In time, the noise of the conflict woke Guthix from his deep slumber, and he rose and stood in the center of the battlefield, so that the splendor of his wrath filled the world, and he called for the conflict to cease. Silence fell, for the gods knew that none could challenge the power of the mighty Guthix, for his power is that of nature itself, to which all other things are subject in the end. Guthix reclaimed that which had been stolen from him, and went back underground to return to his sleep, and continue to draw the world's power into himself. On his way into the depths of the earth, he sat and rested in this cave, and thinking of the battle-scarred desert that now stretched from one side of his world to the other, he wept. And so great was his sorrow, and so great was his life-giving power, that the rocks themselves began to weep with him. Later, Guthix noticed that the rocks continued to weep, and that their tears were infused with a small part of his power. So he set me, his servant, to guard the cave, and he entrusted to me the task of judging who was and was not worthy to access the tears. Wild. So this is magical god juice, basically. Tell me a story. Okay. Here's a story. If you want to collect the Tears of Guthix, you should have both hands free to hold your bowl. I don't have a bowl. Spoilers about the bowls and stuff. Tell you a story? Okay. You tell Juna some of your adventures. So that was how I helped the people of Taibo when I returned. Your stories have entertained me. I'll let you into the cave for a short time. Start quest, Tears of Guthix. That's a way to go for it. Accept. But first, you'll need to make a bowl in which to collect the tears. There's a cavern to the south side of the chasm that is similarly infused with the power of Guthix. The stone in that cave is the only substance that can catch the tears of Guthix. Mine some stone from that cave, make it into a bowl, and bring it to me, and then I will let you catch the tears. Okay? Easy enough, right? Just go to the south, to the rocks to the south, and everything's gonna be fine. Except, we can't get over there. There's the rocks. And so, using our powers of deduction, we find the only other thing in the cave, these light creatures. We can do stuff with them. Travel with the light creature. Light creature appears to ignore you. Want to go across the cavern. Light creature doesn't care. Shimmering creature of blue light. That's all you get to figure out have a blue light. We switch it directly to a sapphire lantern. A little hot glass and open flame burn your fingers. Ouch. It didn't even hurt. So we do not need a second lantern. Weird. We can even extinguish this lantern. Will leave us without a light source. Pretty sure this cave down here is still lit, but doesn't want us to. So, either way, sapphire lantern on the light creature. Light creature is attracted to your beam and comes towards you. And it zoops us in. Now we are inside of the light, instead of just being carried across, which is wild stuff. Very magical. Very cool. Brings us right over to the other side. Very magical. Very helpful. Mine the rock. There we go. Swing your pickaxe the rock. Get some stone. Craft the magical stone into a magical stone bowl. Then we can just actually jump back down here. Whoop. That was a wild jump for that, my goodness. And back to Juna. And there. Before you collect the Tears of Guthix, you must make a bowl out of the stone in the cave on the south of the chasm. I have a bowl. I will keep your bowl for you, so you may collect the tears many times in the future. I suggest you keep the lantern you use to attract the light creatures. I foresee a time when you will need it again. Now, tell me another story, and I'll let you collect the tears for the first time. Quest complete. 1 quest point, 1,000 crafting experience, the ability to collect Tears of Guthix once a week. And later, the ability to make an ornate bowl for increased XP, 80 mining and crafting. And also, later, an option on the Games Necklace. Possibly now. Doesn't really matter. Not going to make a Games Necklace just to come down here. But anyways. Tears of Guthix. Pretty cool. Unfortunately, what Juna said was correct. And it would give us experience in things that we are the weakest. Which does, unfortunately, include the skills that don't exist yet. So we cannot participate in the Tears of Guthix. Sad times. Not at least until 2023. So, missing out on a ton of free experience here, which is a shame. Although we probably still wouldn't have started doing Tears of Guthix just yet, because of changes later on. To go to the Tears of Guthix, you need to get 100,000 experience or 1 quest point. Then you can come back once a week to collect the tears and get XP. In 2012, the XP was made 3 times as much as it previously was, balancing and all that. And with the 80 crafting and 80 mining, you can make an even better bowl to get 5 times the original XP. So that would have been quite a bit. You also get less experience per tier if your level is below 30, just to not blast through the earliest levels too quickly. Again, not going to really be a problem for us. Probably until we've made much progress with necromancy. Because we would not want to put it in necromancy. Well, honestly, by the time we get to 2023, there is every possibility another skill could have come out by then. And then we still wouldn't be able to do this. Anyways, the requirements for coming in once a week was slightly changed in 2014, where instead of a week after you did it last time, it was changed to a resets on the weekly reset system. Because as you slowly went through the weeks, you would be able to go in, spend a few minutes in there, come out, and then would restart your timer. So every week you'd be like a few minutes later in the day until it just got so far out of whack you needed to either come later or come the next day entirely. All a bit of a mess. But yeah, none of that matters. Can't go in there. There is a system where it has a list of the order it gives you if the skills are tied at 0 XP. But again, doesn't matter. Unfortunate. So instead of doing that, we're going to get some more updates here. Not exactly a long quest, was it? My goodness. On May 7th, 2005, the previous 24 hours they were having website problems caused by a configuration error at one of the hosting companies. So, called over there, got everything fixed, should be good. And lastly for today here, on another day here, May 9th, 2005, spears and the crystal bow were made faster. So, this entire time, the crystal bow would have been slower, but even if it was slower, the evolution of combat changes to make things strictly tier-based would have had to be the same strength anyways, so fundamentally that doesn't make a huge difference for us. What does make a slightly bigger difference, though, is another underground update. Down in southeastern Mauritania, the Barrows. Biggest combat addition since the launch of RuneScape 2, and honestly, maybe ever. I mean, the whip was a pretty big deal. Dragon items, rune items when they were released. But this is a whole new tier of everything. 24 new pieces of equipment. And I guess 25 if you're counting the bolts. Helms, bodies, legs, and weapons for 6 different sets of armor. All of these being level 70 requirements. So with the strict tier-based evolution of combat business, strict tier 70 weapons and armor. So now, there is new melee and magic weapons that can rival our crystal bow. So all of the combat styles are now perfectly balanced. Just a little bit more difficult to get than the crystal bow. Although that's really just costs 1,000,000 coins, so 1,000,000 coins, fairly rare drop, That's about right. And so, I think it would be a fun idea to go do a Barrows run. As much as our gear is in no way, shape, or form preferable for a Barrows run, we can soldier through, I feel. So we're going to need food, basically. I think we can manage with just a nice good inventory of sharks. And then we need to actually get down to southeastern Mauritania. Only real way of getting there, especially without going and getting like an ectophile running from there, we're just going to have to teleport to Varrock, run up through Samaria, through Panodermus Temple, over to Canifis, into the underground shortcut, through the Marquee base area there, exit into the swamp, cross the tree, and get down to Morton. It is absolutely a process going to Barrows currently. But it's really worth it for all the cool stuff. Arriving in Morton via the swamp boat. I gassed got one of my food. That's another thing you could do, is bring druid pouches, get those going so the gas can't destroy your food. Although you shouldn't lose too many in general. Also need a spade. Let me brought one of these. Later on, there is a spade spawn, which is very convenient. But here is the crumbling tome. Should be able to get some information from this, assuming it exists. Yep. During the Great God Wars, there were 6 brothers who fought side by side against the forces of evil. Their fervor in battle was awed and feared by all who saw them. Nothing is known of their origins, only that they were first seen when the legions of evil were pressing their hardest into civilized lands. It was the eldest who struck the first blow in the battle, hurling powerful battle magic into the enemy's ranks, opening a hole for 4 of the other brothers to charge through into the heart of their forces. Little was seen or known of the 6th brother at the time, only that when one of the other brothers looked in danger, his sword would be felled by a shower of crossbow bolts. It wasn't until the dust had settled that those left could look on their saviors, the 6 brothers who stood proud with the bodies of the fallen at their feet. For years, these brothers fought hard against their enemy, throwing themselves into battle with little regard for their own safety and relying only on each other for aid. Stories were told around campfires by soldiers of the feats they'd witnessed, and they became legends long before the end. Some say he'd always been there, but no one really knows for sure. The first real tale was after an incursion deep into the dark lands, where once again the brothers proved their worth. It was after the battle that a bent and robed figure was seen amongst the bodies of the dead. Most took him for a scavenger, but he moved towards the campfire of the brothers with such directness that some at first thought him another companion. The brothers, however, reacted as with suspicion at his approach, drawing their weapons and rising from their places. The stranger merely stood before them, as though sizing them up, before turning and walking back into the mists. Some say that's the first time they'd ever seen the brothers unsure. As the campaign moved deeper into the dark lands, the stranger appeared with greater frequency, often appearing on a rise near a battle and watching over it. The most disturbing thing was how his presence started to affect the brothers. They became distracted and on occasion even received injuries that required attention. It was deep in the heart of the enemy's territory, in the failing light of dusk, that the enemy struck back. Great monstrosities swept through the camps, tearing at all in their path. Soldiers scattered like chaff in the wind before the onslaught. The brothers, valiant as ever, stood back to back before the enemy and fought with all their might. As dawn broke, the enemy fled the battle, moving faster than any man could give chase. It was as the soldiers went about rebuilding the camp that the brothers collapsed at their campfire. They lay as though yet breathing, muttering in strange tongues. Their injuries were found swollen and infected. None of the physicians knew what to do. It was like no infection they had ever seen before. All through the day, the brothers were tended and cared for, while the soldiers waited nervously for their heroes to rise once again. It was then, just as the sun's last rays vanished behind the horizon, that all hope was lost. As if on cue, all the 6 brothers sighed one last breath and died. It was only then that the sentries noticed the stranger once again standing on a rise just outside the camp. That night, the camp was surrounded by the great beasts of the enemy, once again, but they didn't attack. They merely baited the soldiers to come out and meet them. Once again, at the break of dawn, the enemy fled without a trace, leaving the soldiers tired from a restless night of worry and fear. That day, the commanders decided to turn back. They could advance no further without the brothers' aid. As was the custom at the time, out of honor and respect for the mighty fallen, they constructed 6 great barrows for the brothers. A crypt for each brother, covered in a small hill of earth that would hold their remains undisturbed by predators. The work took many days. For each night the enemy returned, and the soldiers had to flee back inside their camp to wait away the night to the sounds of howling and scratching at the fences. But each day they resumed their work, their sense of duty to the brothers surmounting their fear of the dark forces in the land. On the last day, the assembled troops buried the brothers inside their stone tombs. Then with great reverence, but little ceremony, they covered the tombs with earth. As the army broke camp and turned to march back to their lands, the stranger was seen once again, standing atop the central barrow, standing tall against the failing light with his arms outstretched to the sky. Not many of the original army made it back to these lands. Many more had perished on the journey home. But tales were told of how each night an unnatural glow could be seen on the horizon, where they had buried the brothers. Even today there are stories told about those mounds of earth, and of the sights and sounds that have been witnessed nearby. So, 6 great heroes from long ago. Probably God Wars, I think it said. And here is a strange old man. Still here. Are you the guy from the story? Or just some strange old guy? Let's talk. Ah! What's wrong? Ah! What's wrong? Ah! I'll leave you to it then. That was very strange. What? I didn't ask for a book. We got the book. You want the book? Dig, dig, dig. Want to hear a secret? Sure. They're not normal. He's very strange. Want to hear a secret? No thanks. Ah! What's wrong? Ah! I'll leave you to it then. Okay. Very good. So, we just dig on in into a crypt. Search a sarcophagus. Found a hidden tunnel. You want to enter? No, not really. Yeah, there's hidden tunnels too. Go into each of these places and disturb the dead. You dare disturb my rest. Guthin, the infested. We're gonna run around and around and around, shooting. We got 53% accuracy. That's decent. Try to not get hit. And there he goes down. I think we might, if we're gonna be running around, we might be better off going where we can't run. Guthin, the infested. He's got, well, we were kind of looking at while we were running around. Melee brother with a spear. And all of them have special set effects for their whole set. Guthins can heal you on hit, which is pretty solid. Very useful for extending trips to places. But we would need to get the entire set, so that'd be difficult. Carol the Tainted here is range armor and a crossbow. So we have a little bit higher accuracy here, but we can't just run around in a big old circle. So we will make the most of this. Carol's special effect lowers agility or something. Nothing useful. But the crossbow is a pretty solid weapon. Equivalent in strength to the crystal bow nowadays, as it is a level 70 two-handed range weapon. The central mound, the eldest brother, where the mysterious guy was at. We dig down. We find Arim the Blighted. Two-handed staff and mage robes. So we got even better accuracy here. I guess our Diva Bar is kind of behind it. 100% accuracy. Solid. His effect lowers stance. And all the time we are in the tombs here, we're getting a prayer draining effect, which is just great. If we wanted to continue using prayer for the entire thing here, we would need to bring many prayer potions. Our 56 prayer is not amazing. Next up, we've got Verak, the Defiled. Back to another melee brother here. He's got a mace, or chain mace, flail, and kind of a gladiator set kind of look. All the stuff has been graphically reworked. So let's keep running around here, getting off shots when we can. And down goes Verak. Originally, all the different sets for the melee ones had slightly different stats. Some slightly more tanky, some with different amounts of defense. Verak's had prayer bonus, probably still does. But defense-wise, they're all pretty much identical. Then we have Torag. He's got dual hammers here, and has the tankiest armor of them all. So that's neat. Keep blasting, running away. Yeah, with our nice amount of run, this is also pretty doable. Originally, constantly running around would be a little less effective because of run energy. Definitely still a tactic that can be used, though. There has been many a Barrows tactic over the years. From tanking the damage to using prayer potions. Lots of good stuff. And Torag's set effect, something. Nothing good. There's definitely some standout effects here. Anyways. Now we need to go into the tunnels, which is just great. Search the sarcophagus here to enter the hidden tunnel. Want to enter? Yeah, I'm fearless. Alright, here we are. The minimap is gone because it's an uncharted territory in here, essentially. And there's a few things that have changed over the years down here. We got ropes here, which are pretty cool. Climb back up and down. Originally these were ladders and functioned as safe spots, which was pretty interesting. Changed in 2009. You could even stand behind invisible ladders to use as safe spots, which is pretty wild. Still thinking old school. Very, very good times. And then in 2012, even more safe spots were removed. So, since we have a Darak tunnel, that is not good news. Not good news at all. Also, as we journey through the only direction we can, because all the other doors are locked. That's a thing. Trying to get to the middle here. We'll also face various skeletons and rats, spiders, bloodworms, which helps with the creatures slain counter here. That is also helpful for getting rewards. How much further we need to go here? All the way around? Of course we do. While going through the doors here, each time spawns an enemy, but can also spawn the Barrows brothers themselves. Ones that you haven't killed yet. So, in our case, that would be a Darok spawn, which is definitely concerning as we try to make our way through here. Could try to get him at a safe spottable location, but since they removed many of the safe spots, might be better off just getting to the middle here and running around the chest. Darok, definitely dangerous. No denying that. So keep running around, running around, running around. Then in the middle, you get a puzzle. You need to answer the correct picture. Oh boy, there's Darok. We're going to want to be nice and healthy here. You want to shoot. Run him around this way. This is a strat. Shoot. This is perfect. This is a perfect strategy. Again, really only works because of a severe amount of running being an option. Step out, shoot, run. Get him stuck again. If we go a little slower, he'll get stuck there. Be easier. Shoot. He's got plenty of health. Over here. Shoot. There's a hit. Accuracy would obviously be significantly superior if we had magic. But then again, we only have access to level 60 magic, so... Oh, but he's gotten loose. That's not what you want. Darok's side effect with his giant axe is to do way more damage the less health he has. So as we get lower and lower health here, he can hit pretty high. Upwards of, oh gosh, upwards of like 400 when he's at very low health. So that's not generally what we want here. And a sliver of health here, he could absolutely hit very high. Oh boy. Let's heal. Let's heal, shall we? Oh yeah, another hit. Hate that for us. Just gonna keep full health here. That's a good plan. And down he goes. Creature slain 7, Barrows brothers slain 6. Got this whole info screen here, so that's nice. Let's open our first Barrows chest, which I suppose will probably count as the first boss we've ever killed. Not exactly a quick endeavor with our running away strategy, but between our armor and only having a ranged weapon, really the only way to really do this. And we also really don't want to go and make prayer potions after every attempt. That would get old quick. Open the chest, and we find a few coins, bolt racks, and chaos runes. And that is an achievement. Teleport back to Varrock. Very cool. Very cool. Other things you can get there are mind runes, death runes, blood runes, and later on more rarely. Tooth and loop halves of keys. A dragon medium helmet, like we had before. And then, all of the Barrow's gear. All of Aram's, all of Darok's, all of Torag's, all of Varak's, all of Guthan's, all of Carol's. All 24 pieces of equipment. There's also new Barrow's equipment, and later even new Barrow's brothers. But for now, we just end up getting a little bit of money here. Sell the Chaos Runes for a bit. Sell the Bolt Racks for a bit. So, not too shabby overall. Another 17,000 coins. Without the Carol's Crossbow, we really have no use for the bolts. And Chaos Runes don't really do much with the changes to the spell requirements. That's okay. And that is Barrows. Pretty exciting. What's going to be less exciting is I'm going to get another crafting level for next episode. I mean, crafting levels are pretty good too. That's fine. But yeah, definitely worked that was what was happening after Tears of Guthix. Really got the episode to a reasonable length here, instead of only doing a 5-minute quest. Content. Also a thing that we're doing. But we also kind of don't want to go do a bunch of Barrows right now, because losing everything is currently looming here. We'll worry about that in a little bit. But before that, more quests. Next time. Goodbye.